Okay, Stoke City have ended their 12-year stay in the Premier League with relegation today. They lost to Crystal Palace 2-1. It's a season that never got started for Stoke, really. They had a good run under Tony Pulis until he could take them no further, and he'd obviously reached a point where he wanted a fresh challenge. So he went on to, I think, Palace. Yeah, he went on to Crystal Palace, and then on to West Brom. So Mark Hughes steps in. Now, Mark Hughes is a decent manager. I have a lot of time for Mark Hughes as a player. He was very, very talented. He was also a box-to-box midfielder. He was one of those hard, skillful players, but he had that hard, nasty streak to him where he could stand up for himself and put a tackle in. And he's had a decent managerial record himself at Premier League level. So he steps in for a few seasons. He does reasonably well with Stoke. This season, they just never got going. They had a very slow start. They never really got into gear. They were at the bottom of the table for too long, and they could not get out. They sacked Mark Hughes after the Coventry City FA Cup loss, where they lost 2-1. They sacked Mark Hughes after that. That cost him his job earlier in the season. I did a video on that. They hire Paul Lambert, which I feel was a mistake. He's not. I personally don't think he's a very good manager. He's too negative in his tactics. There's not enough attacking play in his tactics. It's all too safety first. He proved that at Aston Villa when they were the lowest scoring team in the Premier League season on season when he was in charge there. Norwich was a different kettle of fish. He did reasonably well at Norwich for the players he had, but after that, I think he had he was overestimated in his qualities. Certain people thought he was a better manager than he was. He's too negative in his tactics. There's too much, safety first style of play. You need to score goals to stay up. Trying to reduce the damage is not going to keep you up. Also, the handling of Berahino as well. Did he also lose the dressing room? I think Mark Hughes might have lost the dressing room slightly, or at least lost confidence in the board. But Lambert never really got this team fired up, really. They didn't respond well to his style of management, and I don't really rate him. I just look what he did with Aston Villa and then Blackburn. He was too safety first, not enough attacking intent, especially when you've got attacking players available to you. I think players like Ryan Shawcross and Jack Butland leave and get signed by other clubs. They'll have get out clauses in their contracts saying that they want to keep playing Premier League football, and Butland wants to go to the World Cup as one of the goalkeeping choices. I honestly believe those two players will leave the club. I think Shaqiri has just not performed at all for what was expected of the money they paid for him. Losing Arnautovic to West Ham hasn't helped the club because the players they brought in haven't really performed. I mean, Berahino has been a nothing since the issue at West Brom where he was trying to force a move to Man United. He's done nothing for Stoke. So that's a waste of salary and a waste of money. And Paul Lambert tells him to sod off and not turn up training. Clearly, he may have lost the dressing or lost some respect for some of the players. It'd be interesting to hear in years down the line what the players think of this situation. I feel very sorry for the fans. They have a playing squad that could be competitive in the Premier League and could quite easily get back out of the Championship. It's whether they adjust to Championship-style football, and it's whether they can possibly reduce that wage bill slightly, pick up a few free transfers, promote some youth players because they've got a decent youth system at Stoke. That could see them bounce back straight up. If not, we could see a long road ahead for Stoke, and they've come a very long way from where they were 15, 20 years ago. They've come a very, very long way from where they were. They've really grown as a club. They've really grown as a team, and this season they just never got going. Whether that was on Mark Hughes, whether that was on transfer policy, there were some questionable decisions like selling Arnautovic and bringing in Berahino over the last couple of years. That could be questioned as part of the problem. But the group of players just didn't play well enough as a group this year. They just weren't up to the standard that they needed to be. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a high player turnover, but I also wouldn't be surprised if some of the players stick around and want to prove to the fans and to themselves that they are good enough to get back into the Premier League. But as it stands, they're relegated. They've had a very good stand in the Premier League. They've been a credit to the Premier League. They've given it some flavour of a physical nature. They gave us the Roy Delap long throw speciality for a while. I think they miss out on that kind of mixing up They do miss that long throw in, which is also basically like an extra free kick or a corner coming in. It's very hard for defences to defend. They had a very good record against Arsenal, for instance, in that respect. I think transfer policy is going to be key for them going forward. I don't think Lambert stays as manager. I hope he doesn't, because if he does, they are going to struggle in the Championship with him as manager. He's far too safety first. He's too cautious a manager. It doesn't work in English football the way it's evolving, with the pace of the game improving, and even the Championship being the third most watched football league in the world, and one that and it doesn't work. It doesn't put bums on seats. It really turns fans off watching him just go park the bus and safety first. It doesn't work. It clearly hasn't worked. It clearly hasn't saved them. And this could be a very long summer for Stoke. But at the same time, they could bounce back straight away. But anyway, that's my view on it. I think transfer policy's been a bit iffy. They haven't properly replaced Tony or Mark Hughes, really. They didn't really replace him with a decent enough manager. I think Mark Hughes sort of did lose his way at Stoke this season. It's taken a while for him to stamp his authority on Southampton, and they're trying to get out of the mess of Southampton, so he hasn't really... I think Mark Hughes may stay at Southampton long term and try and fix the club and work out, but transfer policy has been an issue, and the style of play and getting the players to play, and they haven't scored enough goals. Goal scoring has been a problem, and that's that. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, place your comments below, and I'll have some more videos for you soon.